Hello and welcome to the Couple of Pints Podcast. First of all I ask is that you subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from. We really do appreciate your support, and believe me, it's going to help us grow as a channel. This week on the Couple of Pints Podcast, I'm joined by Tim Warwood. Tim is best known for his work as being an Olympic Games presenter on BBC, as well as being the frontman for the Red Bull Soapbox Challenge. Tim's got some fantastic stories about his career, and believe me, this is well worth a watch and a listen. Let's get Tim in and have a couple of pints with him. Tim,
Good.
couple of pints. How
Cheers.
are you?
I'm great, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.
So, Tim Warwood. If I was to ask someone, how would you introduce yourself? How would it be? Would it be sort of BBC Olympic Games, BBC Winter Olympics presenter, Red Bull Soapbox presenter? Would it be famous first words creator? Or would it be simply the current British snowboard slalom
Correct
champion?
that, please.
That one, the last
yes,
one.
the last one.
So, tell us about that.
Well, I won the slalom. I won it as a joke. So slalom, the event when we were all doing it as kids, was not a joke event, but it certainly wasn't something we all tried to do.
Yep.
It was something that we just entered, because when you entered the British Champs, you could either do per event for a tenner or all five for 40 quid or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It was something like that. So as part of the discount, you just got slalom lumped in. So we'd all do it, you'd end up just doing it hungover for a laugh. So we did the event, and then we came off the hill, and we're all down in the village in Meyerhofen in Austria. And someone comes over to me laughing, they're like, you won the slalom, because you put down 2 runs and it's your fastest time wins. And I won, and so much to the, everybody laughing their head off. But my mate who was with me was really taking the piss out of me, going, and the person went, I don't know why you're laughing, you got second. So it was quite funny. So, but anyway, long story, they got rid of that event. That was the last year they did it. So that was 1996. I've been the British slalom champion since 1996.
It's a good record to have.
I think so,
It's
yeah.
not a bad one.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I guess that sort of, it's not one that you lead with everywhere, but I suppose when you're doing this podcast, it's not a bad one.
It's quite a niche one to try and dine out on, really. On the current British slalom champion.
You're not going many places and people are buying you a beer for that one, are you?
But no, I don't know. I guess just presenter, loud. I describe myself as a loud person and a presenter and a host.
That's spot on. To be fair, that's kind of where I know you from. I mean, I think that anyone that stayed up past 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the Tokyo Olympics a couple of years ago was greeted with a guy wearing very loud shirts, a Brummie accent, and presenting the skateboarding. And all I could think was, right, I like traditional Olympic sports, but this is really catching my attention.
It's mad, isn't it?
Mate, it was incredible. And the fact there was no crowd there as well sort of made it more intense, because I was watching, I was like, oh, that's a bad run.
Yeah.
In half an hour, I'd learnt the whole sort of, shebang with skateboarding. I was like, this is incredible.
Do you know what? And that's a testament almost to Ed and Mark Churchill that were doing the commentary. They're so good at what they do. Mark's the voice of UK skateboarding. He's been doing it for years and years. And Ed is a lead commentator. Ed also a really good skater from the snowboard world as well. That's how I know Ed. And when things like skateboarding and BMX were introduced, freestyle BMX were introduced to the Olympic program, it was kind of a rub your hands together moment. It was like, snowboarding and freestyle skiing have done it in the Winter Games. They've gone and taken over and shown that they're the best, and now skateboarding and freestyle BMX gets to do the same in the Summer Games.
So how did you get that gig with the BBC in terms of, as soon as skateboarding came into the Olympics, were you there thinking, well, no one else is going to have this? This is a guaranteed gig for me for 12 years.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, a little bit, but not really. I mean, the thing is, it's not my first sport. I was skateboarding long before I snowboarded, but I'm very bad at skateboarding.
It's not one of the things you just do as a kid, isn't it?
Well, I still do it now. Still love a good groin strain from skateboarding. But no, when it got announced it was going to be in the Olympics, the way that the BBC work in terms of staffing these events, obviously they've got to send all the staff to Tokyo. That comes at a huge expense,
especially
with hotels.
COVID as well.
Yeah, well, this is it, but also with your accreditation. So you have to buy the accreditation from the IOC, from the Olympics.
Yeah.
So if the BBC was sending a specific commentator to all these events, they'd have to obviously get flights for everybody, they'd have to get hotels, they'd have to get these accreditation for everybody, and it would just be too expensive. So the way they tend to do it is they need commentators that can do 3 or 4 events, and then you get the chance to kind of do
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none, absolutely. So I could do skateboarding, BMX, racing, I could do a bit of climbing, I think, the action sports side of things, I can do surfing as well, kind of. So the plan was for me to go me and Ed would go and we'd double team. Ed's stronger at surfing, I'm stronger at BMX, and we could do, we could tag team it on events like that. But when COVID happened, all the commentary teams were going to be left back in Manchester, which meant they wouldn't have the expense of flights, hotels, and accreditation. So the BBC were actually able to get the very best in the UK to do that one specific event. So they ended up with Matt Churchill, with John Taylor for the BMX, and then Ben Mondi did the surf, and which kind of left me a bit redundant, really, which is okay because those guys are better than me at, doing that one individual event. But then the BBC turned around and said, would you like to go and be our on-ground reporter? Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I just basically get to go over there and chat about how rad it is and how good skate and BMX were. And like I said earlier, those events for me and from a lot of moms and dads and grannies and people that don't know BMX and skateboarding, they all came back and the feedback was, these sports were amazing, where have they been, kind of thing.
I mean, to be fair, from my perspective, I was just like, after a few beers, sort of Friday night, watching the telly, you're like flicking through, and you're like, hang on, skateboard, have a watch of that. And it was like BBC One, and the only people at that time of day that are watching things like that shouldn't be watching things that.
Narcoleptics or drunks.
Absolutely. Like people who have been on the piss all day, or people that have just sort of got an absolute issue with their sleep. And there was me sort of totally engrossed. And like you say, it was the BMX, it was the skateboarding. The skateboarding was just, I thought it was phenomenal. Like, I don't know why. And obviously with Britain, Team GB doing well as well.
Sky
Brown when it was Sky Brown, and she obviously done well last week as well. I do keep up.
Good. Mate, you're in.
I'm engrossed by the sport. It's become one of those sports that is like just out of nowhere. I never thought, because I'm quite a traditional sort of sport guy. I mean, football, cricket is sort of like your standard sports in Britain. But the moment that the Olympics comes around, there's always something that catches my attention. And the last one, it absolutely was skateboarding.
Wicked.
The shirts that you wore.
We'll
make sure that they're on this podcast. Was that a bet? Or
no, it wasn't. I can't remember.
Was that your choice?
I can't remember. I started like getting a bit of a Hawaiian shirt fetish, and I bought one with broccoli on it, and I just thought, oh my God, a shirt with broccoli on, that is ridiculous. And I started to wear it, and I wore it for an event previous, and someone was like, oh my God, that shirt's the best thing ever. And I thought, well, I'll wear one. And I took my broccoli shirt and a couple of other Hawaiian shirts with me. And when I wore it on that first day, you do this thing where you link up, so you live link before you actually go live on the telly, and you can hear, they patch you in, you've got your earpiece, and you can hear Manchester. So I'm standing there in Tokyo in the blazing sun, and I can hear Manchester, and I'm going, connecting to Tim now in Tokyo. Are you there, Tim? Hello? And it's just the director or whatever. And I obviously appeared on their screens in Manchester, and they all just started laughing. I could hear the whole gallery laughing, and then I could hear JJ, the presenter of the programme, got patched in, and I could hear him, and he's like, oh my God, is he wearing a broccoli shirt? That's the best thing I've ever seen. And I just thought, well, it's making people laugh, and that's, if everyone's having a smile.
Why not? I mean,
and I
think everyone needed a laugh at that point in time, to be fair.
Yeah, so that's just my, I love a good loud shirt now, really. I've done for a few years.
You're hitting that point in time where you're like, I don't care what I wear anymore, I don't care what I look like.
If I can embarrass the kids, then let me add it,
Brilliant. Okay, so sort of going back to you as a person, obviously, Birmingham based. It's nice to hear Brummy tones on the telly, I'll be honest. It makes a change because it's normally sort of BBC, particularly, it's normally sort of standard BBC. London
very
based
much
or
so.
home counties. But, it's nice to have a Brummy every now and then.
Well, actually, I'm almost a fake Brummy, really, from Aldridge. So
that's all right. So am I.
Oh, are you?
I'm
nice.
Brownells.
So, there we go. Okay,
It's that same constituency if you're interested in politics.
Posher than normal Birmingham. So, but yeah, Brummy, born and bred. Big fan of the city, and I did a lot of snowboarding. Grew up here, actually.
Birmingham was far away from the mountain ranges
as far as away. Yeah, and you know what? I didn't know what I was going to do coming out of school, and they built this place here in 1994, and I'd been on the school ski trip randomly to Italy, and when I got back, my mum said, you know, I was frothing about it. I loved skiing. I just couldn't believe it was ridiculous. And my mum said, oh, there's a voucher to ski at the SnowDome. It's only a £5. Do you fancy it? And I was like, yeah, I'll give anything a go. So I came down here with my mate, and as we were walking out past reception, I don't know what came over me. Just went up to them and I said, oh, do you do work experience here? Could I do my school work experience? And the manager, there's a guy called, I can't remember his full name now, Dave, someone. He said, he was like, oh, well, we haven't had anybody yet, but yeah, why not? So I think they opened in the April I think it was the April. And then in the May, I was doing my work experience here. And I just started snowboarding on that first day and absolutely fell in love with it. And that was it. And I was absolutely hooked. And just for the next year, I was pretty much riding down that every single day.
So you're a regular, this was like your sort of home, second home?
Absolutely, yeah. And then I got a job here, and then I rode, because it was free then to ride here, I rode every single day. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but genuinely, I rode every single day here.
So what was your lots of ambition? Were you trying to become a professional? Obviously, you did become a professional snowboarder, but did you want that to become like lucrative enough to be your day job? Or
no, it was. Do you know what? It was really weird, and I was your classic kid that just didn't know what he was going to do. I was, you know, from the Midlands, had no real aspirations or ideas. My mum and dad were nurses. I just figured I'd probably end up being a nurse. I've always never been squeamish. I've always thought of myself as being a doctor or something, or a nurse. And I genuinely didn't have any. I wasn't very good at school. I couldn't, you know. I got a double B in science. That was about it. And then, this, without sounding like I'm boasting, I got quite good quite quickly just because of riding here so much. And so I started to enter a few competitions with a few of the guys here, and they started to take me on. You know, I was 15 at the time. They started to go to these competitions around the UK. And when I was measuring up in the other junior category against the other kids in the UK, I was quite good. You know, I was getting top 3 every weekend. And so at that point, I thought, oh, there's maybe something in this. And then a couple of the older lads here were going away to do winter seasons. So, you know, come November, they pack up the car and drive to Chamonix or drive to France. And I was just like, I've got to go to the mountains. I've got to go. So I ended up going over to America, actually. So my first ever time on an aeroplane at 16.
Colorado, was it?
Colorado,
right? The research hasn't let me down on this occasion.
That's it. First time at 16, I got on an aeroplane for the first time, and I flew to Colorado, and I went to the Rocky Mountains, and it just blew my mind. And
it's the best powder on earth, isn't it? That part of the world.
Yeah,
I've got a mate who lives in Salt Lake City, and he said that the snow there is, you know, it's just powder. It's perfect.
It's unbelievable. When it's good, it's the best. Yeah. So just did that and just fell in love with snowboarding, and I was at that like age where I just said yes, whatever snowboarding offered me, whether it was a contest or a photo shoot I just said yes to it, and I just went and did it.
Sort of open mind, just do whatever you can. Is that sort of how your career progressed from being snowboarder to TV presenter? Or?
Yeah, well, so I snowboarded a lot. I snowboarded at least 9 months of the year and chased the snow around as best as I could and for as long as my money let me, and then I'd come back and I'd work jobs in pallet factories or building shower frames or whatever it was. And then through doing the contests and traveling the UK, I was at one of the contests and I had a bad leg, I couldn't ride, and so the organiser came up to me and threw me the microphone. He went, "Here you go, you do a bit of commentating. You love the sound of your own voice." I was like, all right. So I started, you know, basically chatting shit and giving my mates like loads of crap. And then at the end of it, he came over and gave me 30 quid. And I was like, what, you can get paid to talk? What is this? So, and from that moment on, I just then started to MC events. And it got to a point where actually I was quickly figuring out I could go to these events, I could either snowboard, risk my life, you know, pay 40 quid to risk my life, maybe get top 10 if I was having the best day ever, or I could go to the same event, not risk my life, drink some beers and get paid to be there. So I just started doing commentary. And
no-brainer, isn't it? It's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, and then at one of the events there was a TV director and he came up to me and he said, "You'd be good on telly, you should try and do some telly." So again, you know, from just saying yes to everything, I was like, yeah, why not? I'll give it a go. And started out on Channel 4 on a show.
Was that your first?
Free Sports on 4, yeah.
Got you. And sort of was that all winter sports based, and you've made the transition sort of from there into more sort of standard
other sports. Well, no, it was winter sports primarily, and then because I just had such a big love of action sports, my brother was a BMXer, and I was a very poor skateboarder, but I loved it and still tried to skate as much as I could. So I knew the world of skateboarding and BMX and all the action sports and surfing, and you know, keeping in on it all, because that was my background really. This particular show is called Free Sports on 4. So they did surf events and they did skate and downhill mountain biking and all these events, and I'd just go around with them and
what a life that must have been.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Bet you had some great piss-ups.
Oh my God, it was amazing. Some pretty good parties, definitely. Back when everyone used to party, before it was a professional sport.
Even better. So from that move from sport into media, I mean, obviously, I'm guessing it was quite seamless for you because you were still going to the same events, you were still sort of with the same people. It's just you've got a mic in your hand. And
Absolutely. And it's I didn't really get, and I've never really had any formal training. You just kind of do it, and I get asked quite a bit, how do you do it? How do you get into it? And I really want to do it and all this. And I think for me, you know, I cut my teeth on Rosendale Dry Slope up in Lancashire, commentating to 10 people in the rain for 9 hours, you know, and you learn your craft and you learn, and from doing all these different events and commentating to sometimes 10 or 12 people, and then conversely you'd turn up at another event, it'd be 1,000 people standing in the car park at Battersea Freeze or whatever. So I've done so many different events and so many random things. I think that was my training, almost like learning on the job. I worked with an old TV director called Dylan Davies, and he was really patient with me at the time. I mean, sometimes we'd be out filming links, and I'd be doing quite literally 30 or 40 takes,
right,
you know, to try and get. You could see me on the camera, just be like, you take a deep breath, you'd be like, you got it, man, keep going. And it was like feeding just lines at me. If you can add £25,000 to it, do it. But if you can't add it, don't worry. So then I'd try and add £25,000 prize money, and I'd mess it up. And
there's nothing worse. I've found that since we've been doing this, like filming links, and you think, right, it'd be easy, you know, looking at the camera, saying like a couple of sentences.
So your brain fries.
Oh, honestly, and the amount of times where I've been with sort of George, and we've sort of gone, right, let's just do a link here. Like we were on guitar at the World Cup, I was like, let's do a link here, and I'm like, we won't be using that. Yeah. I've tried it 5 times. I fucked it up 5 times.
That'll do it. Yeah. Is George quite patient? Is he? Is George?
He has to be. He's dealing with me every day. You know, we sort of film anything. So obviously, your media training was quite on the job.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, that's better though, because you come across as more authentic. You come across as being, you know, sort of down to earth, and that helps. But is there anyone sort of in the media that's sort of like maybe there's presenters in your field that you've worked with that have given you useful advice that you've used, or anything like that? Sort of, I mean, obviously, being around the BBC, there's a lot of people that have got a lot of experience.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I dread to think what the BBC think of me, really. You know, you could get a few of them and go, what do you think of that guy? I mean, people genuinely laugh sometimes when I walk into the rooms at the BBC with all the, you know, and actually when I'm with all the... No, yeah, I was actually. But no, it's funny, you know, and it's... I know this is going to sound like I'm lying, but the whole thing, and we, you know, when snowboarding burst onto the scene, the freestyle, slopestyle burst onto the scene, and it was the perfect storm, really, in a sense of we had a Brit in the final. It was a Sunday morning in the UK. It was 8 a.m. and it was a beautiful sunny course in Russia, and then in the UK it was rainy and horrible and everybody was in. We went live on BBC Two, and we just did what we'd done for 15 years earlier. We didn't do it, me and Ed didn't do it any different, and people just couldn't believe it. They thought it was an act, and they thought it was, you know, a lot of people genuinely loved it, but we did received 300 official Ofcom complaints for that.
Really?
Yeah, which I'm quite stoked about that, really. But
I'd be thinking that's an achievement. I mean, you think about what people complain about in this day and age as well. Yeah. I mean, what would that be in modern money? I suppose the inflation on Ofcom
exactly, yeah, through the roof now. But no, we just did it.
What was the complaints about?
Well, we kind of cheered when a girl fell over, when Anna Gasser fell over, but we didn't cheer that she'd fallen over. We cheered because her falling over, and she didn't hurt herself in any way.
Yeah.
She landed and skidded out, washed out. She was not hurt in the slightest, but her doing that meant that our friend won a bronze medal.
Right,
so it was really hard to contain those emotions.
Yeah.
And that was in the commentary booth. That was me and Ed Lee, and then a friend, Amy Fuller. And you know, I've worked with Ed for years and years. And going back to the question you asked about influences, I'd say Ed's been the biggest influence. Yeah. He manages to toe the line so perfectly, tread the line so perfectly between being super core action sports, being funny, just being himself, and also appeasing all the people that don't know the sport. So, you know, welcoming new people in and being professional and explaining what's going on, but at the same time still being able to spread his wings and keep the core side of the sports happy.
I think that's the trick between like a good presenter, like, and particularly when you look at some of the events like the Winter Olympics and the Olympics, you've almost got to be sort of welcoming new people, because that's the only way these sports grow in a lot of ways, and you've got to get the traction. And I think the difference is, the last thing I want is to tune in and just hear a load of technical bollocks about a new sport, and I'm like,
absolutely.
What the fuck is going on here? You want to sort of have an introduction of this is, you know, whoever, this is what we're doing, and you want it almost in like child's terms. Right? He's going to go down that hill really fast on 4 wheels, and anything could happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And when he does get technical, you start learning it. You know, if you infuse that technical jargon with it, you become a really good presenter.
Like you become like a closet skateboard fan.
Out of nowhere, no one knows this until you start doing podcasts with skateboard presenters. But people are like, hang on, did he just say watch his skateboarding?
Yeah, it's wicked, and you're absolutely right. And it's, you know, sound the cheese alert klaxon, but when you meet people that don't know anything about skateboarding or BMX, and they come away and they're like, oh my God, did you see that guy Logan Martin do the bike flip? Or did you see Sky Brown with, you know, this and that? And it makes you realise that, well, A, the sport is the star, the sport's doing an incredible job, and we all know the sport's good, but B, that you've kind of done a good job as well, because you've opened that world up to everybody, and everybody's been able to kind of get on board and be like, yeah, that is rad, I'm down with that.
Yeah, no, and that's the whole sort of point of it, I guess. I mean, going into Tokyo a little bit, obviously last Olympics was delayed because of the pandemic. So would you have known that you were going in early 2020 before the pandemic and the world closed?
No. So it was. I was completely down to go and do the commentary. Then it all got cancelled, and I was supposed to be staying in Manchester to do the commentary there. And then when we realised actually we can get better people than me to go and do the commentary for it, and I got a call off the boss, and he said, we want to send you, would you be happy going? And this was middle of the pandemic, nobody travelling. And I thought about it, and actually I'm on an immunosuppressant drug anyway, so I have psoriatic arthritis. Okay. And I take an immunosuppressant drug which obviously suppresses my immune system. So in the eyes of the government as well, I was one of the vulnerable. I was one of the extremely at risk. Yeah. So, you know, I was having to self-isolate at the start, and I, you know, be in different rooms for my kids, which was mad really when I think about it now. And then I was getting the food parcels and stuff, and you feel like a fraud because I didn't feel like I deserved a food parcel or anything. But so when that came in and I was offered to go, it was had a bit of a moment where I thought, do I want to actually go? Is this worth it? And I'll be doing a different job. And actually, I've never been a reporter before in that sense, and I've never had to do that. So I kind of just, again, said yes, because I'm pretty good at saying yes, took the plunge, and I went. And it was completely different. But after day one and actually just doing it and getting it done, it was kind of like, yeah, this is wicked.
Yeah,
I'm really stoked to be here.
Tokyo as a place, I mean, so we are, as a podcast, we're going to be heading to Tokyo.
Mega.
Which is a bit of a little bit for our listeners there, the avid listeners, they'll be thinking, hang on, we're going to Tokyo in a few weeks, so we're going to be producing content there. And as a city, as a place, obviously you've seen it in pandemic time, as it were.
Yeah.
But what was your sort of impressions of the place as a
It's incredible. It's amazing.
It's
like the movies. It's like going into the movies. You know, when you see a movie about Tokyo, that's what it's like. And you think that you've been to a big city before. Maybe you've been around London or I don't know, whatever. But My God, you go to Tokyo and you go up more than 30 floors and look out, and there's just buildings, sky-rise buildings as far as you can see.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mega. And it's quite funny how little English they speak as well. It's you know, I think you can be quite ignorant sometimes. You go over to France or Spain or wherever you go around Europe, and they speak English better than we do, you know. But you go there, you land in Tokyo, you're in the airport, it's like, oh, you've got their symbols or their language, which you can't really understand at all, of course, and then underneath is like toilet, and you're like, okay, and then you go 3 miles from the airport, boom, that's all gone. There's no more English signs. You are like, right, everything turns into kind of, what you call it, like doing impressions of animals and all kinds of things. Choosing off pictures, but it's incredible. Amazing food, super friendly people, like happy people everywhere, and just incredible sights.
So in terms of like the city itself, are there anywhere you'd recommend for us to absolutely go and see when we're there? I mean,
so I stayed in a place called Shinjuku, which is supposed to be the cool district, but that was pretty rad. Yeah, we weren't allowed on the metro when we were there, so we had to get taxis everywhere we went. We had our own BBC cars taking us around, but I heard the metro's pretty cool if you can decipher it.
I watched the Top Gear special when they went around Japan, and like Richard Hammond and James Major looking for symbols, and like, I've got no idea where we're going. I think that, to be honest, we'll have a bit of that.
I tell you where you should go.
Yep.
You should go to the skate park.
Okay.
Because it's there and it's open to the public.
Oh, is it?
And you can go and stand on the Olympic skate park course.
I'm going to stand where you...
and you can see just how big it is
for
yourself, and realise what those guys and girls were doing on that course, and it'll blow your mind.
We'll get George to make a note of that one. We're definitely going to go there.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure we tag you in when we...
Yeah, do it. I'd love to see it. But it's just a brilliant city, actually, and you can see Mount Fuji from parts of the city. So, again, you there's culture everywhere you look. There's culture and sights to see and amazing stuff.
So was that, how many Olympics have you done as a reporter, presenter sort of?
So my first ever Olympics,
one as a reporter,
my first Olympics I worked on, I did London 2012.
Yeah.
So I worked on the BMX stuff there. I was hosting the BMX arena for the live crowds. That was good. And then I did Russia 2014 the Winter Olympics as a commentator. Then I did so that was Russia 2014. Might have to edit this bit out, George. 2018 was Pyeongchang. I did that as a commentator.
Yeah.
Then I did Tokyo 21 Summer Games as a reporter, and then most recently back in the commentary booth with Ed for
Last
Beijing.
year.
22.
Didn't go out to Beijing.
We adopted their time, we adopted their time zone. That was it.
But that was a nightmare.
Oh, awful. 2 weeks in Manchester. I didn't see sun for 2 weeks.
Well, you don't in Manchester anyway.
No, that's true. You don't.
Any time of the year. No fans at the Olympics then. So.
No.
A bit different from 2012 for you in terms of seeing the Summer Olympics at home where everyone's there and
buzzing. And at that point in my life, I was living in London as well. Yeah,
oh,
so I was down there for a couple of years and living down there. And I know people bang on about how good the London Olympics were, but they were really quite special. They were nearly as good as the Birmingham Commonwealth Games, but not quite as good.
That's a good segue. That is the next thing I'm going to talk about.
Yeah. But no, it was a shame, Tokyo.
Yeah.
It was a shame, especially now, we're kind of out of it, I guess, in the stupidest way of putting it. But all that infrastructure, all that effort, all that energy that the athletes and the skaters, BMXers, they all put in it. It's just such a shame, really.
To have no one there.
Really.
It's that sterile environment, and you sort of watch it and you think, hang on, like something's missing. And the thing with live sport is, and I guess probably football was the one event that you watched, one sort of sport that you watched during COVID, and you noticed that players were different, reacted different. So you got results that were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because even teams that sort of go 1 or 2 goals ahead at home, Whereas normally there'd be an anxiety from fans
Yeah,
because they'd
yeah.
be thinking we're 2-0 up. We got, don't fuck it up. Don't balls it up.
Well, Villa smashed Liverpool.
That's the
do you
result
not
I was
remember?
thinking of, Tim. I'll be honest. There's no way that Villa are winning 7-2 against Liverpool at home with fans because all you know is that Richard that sits on row 2 is going to be screaming.
Do you see the whole end as well? Yeah, exactly.
Fucking hell, Mings. It's
Yeah.
like, you just know that that's coming, and I think that that's where, like, in an Olympic environment where everything's tapered to be in that sort of, this is your performing zone, I imagine that there's certain athletes, because they've got to be, where you're thriving off the atmosphere. And I think particularly, I never really witnessed it with athletics, watching athletics on the telly. But I went to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham last year. I went to the Alexandra Stadium and watched quite a couple, I think 2 of the athletics events. Oh my God, it was amazing. It's like, I guess I'm just not one of these guys that just gets dragged into sport and I'm like fixated.
I'm exactly the same though.
But that was one where you noticed that, there were certain athletes that could feel the crowd, feel the energy. And if you haven't got that, it must be quite difficult for you to motivate yourself. And I'm guessing you would have seen it in as much as, particularly the close proximity events like skateboarding, where you would be in an arena. You would have, fans all around normally. And I guess in a lot of ways that's where you've got sort of, I don't want to call it freak results, but you've got results where the pressure probably hasn't told as much on people like Sky Brown, who's done very well, got a medal. And, you think, well, would a 13-year-old in front of 15, 16,000 people have got a medal? You don't really know how to judge it. So how did you find that with that lack of fans?
You're absolutely right. It was weird because you could hear them as well, and you're out there and you're perhaps practicing a link or you're doing something and you're chatting away and they can almost hear you doing it, and they're out there. And
there's nothing worse if you're skateboarding.
He's
fucked it up.
I'm just watching him now. He's not, But it was. I think they adapted quite well, and I'd say no fans. Actually, by the finals, there was a buzz about the skateboarding and the BMX arenas because of the bleachers. What's the proper word? The stands that they'd built. I went all American then. The bleachers. Literally, I don't know where that came from.
Colorado.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. The stands that they built were so good and vast and big that actually just the volunteers that were all paid to be there anyway, they all filled it, and then you had the staff and the crew. So they were far from full, but there was a bit of a buzz, a bit of an atmosphere. And actually the Olympic Committee, the local, the Japanese Olympic people that were putting on the events, still did all the presentation. So you still had a guy presenting, you still had the DJ, you still had the music, it was all, they did everything the same as if there was a crowd, but there was no
just some hype man
crowd.
At the front going, come on, get up.
So, and actually the other thing that you did get, which a lot more solidarity between the competitors themselves. And actually it's quite hard to witness, and it's been documented a few times that the people that are new to free sports, they're amazed when they see a gold medal winning run, but all the other competitors come to hug the winner. Like, oh my God, that was so sick, and they're all, because it's such a good vibe, and actually between them lot, and certainly the skateboard, making its debut, they all realised they were a part of history. And so there was that stoke anyway between them all, and they were. And
no matter what, you're the first, even if you're just a competitor, you're the first to compete.
And so there was a good vibe actually out there, and but it will be interesting for Paris to see, with crowds back and to see what happens and see what the vibe's like.
I mean, that's sort of something that I thought of during that Olympics. I was watching it and I was thinking, well, it's harsh on Tokyo because Tokyo and Japan is like a great country in terms of huge size, lots of people that are very fanatical about their sport, and you almost sort of wished that the IOC pushed the next Olympics on a little bit and brought it back to Tokyo in 2024 just so they could get their moment, because it does have a lasting legacy in a lot of ways. Sort of London having the Olympics has created the best medals ever at 2016, and even to this day we're still seeing athletes that potentially 10 years ago wouldn't have been there because they got inspired by what happened in 2012. I guess that's something we would have. I think I would have liked to have seen that, just because Japan is, as I say, going there. I'm like, well, I'd like to have seen what it was like with the buzz.
And as well, a bit deep perhaps, talking about economics of the country, but you know, imagine how much they spent.
Must have cost a fortune.
And then to not get any of that back with.
Yeah, I'd be getting the receipts out personally.
Because this is it again. You know, all the food stands were there. It was like everything was set up apart from the fans.
Yeah.
It wasn't like let's not put. Well, there's no point in doing a merchandise stall. No, the merchandise stall was there. You know, it was pretty bonkers, really. In that
the sale the last day, everything was about $1.
Yeah.
You were cracking on. Take 3 suitcases home.
No, mad.
Birmingham Commonwealth Games.
Yeah. How good was that, by the way?
Home city. Very proud for anyone from the region to have a games. Obviously, in classic Birmingham style, it wasn't won in the normal way. I think Durban were due to have it, and we were just like, they can't host it. We'll bankrupt ourselves and have a go. Why not?
Go on, why not? Yeah.
And it's classic Birmingham. It wasn't sort of planned, but it was very much ours. And I think that anyone from the region that went, I mean, I can't tell you how good it was, like, from my perspective as a fan of just sport.
Yeah.
I just bought like tickets for like a Thursday night athletics, and I was like, right, we'll go and have a look, see what it's about. And I was like, after 10 minutes, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
This is the best thing I've ever done.
You've just got everything going on. You've got like 6 or 7 events all in one place, and you're like, I can't actually keep
Don't know where to look, yeah.
Yeah. Which events did you cover for that games?
Oh, God. I did.
Another one for George to edit this.
Yeah. Edit this out, George. I did women's weightlifting, volleyball, 3x3 basketball. I did men's weightlifting, a lot of time down in Spitalfield Market, yeah. What else did I do? I did a load of bits just around. I did the baton relay. I did a bit about, I had to go and shoot some features about Birmingham as a city and all that kind of stuff. What else did I do? I did loads. I did loads of triathlon. Did the triathlon as well. I did crumbs, I've forgotten. I did loads. Basically, I was almost the Swiss Army man of events. It's kind of like, what's Tim doing? He's not doing much. Send him off to badminton or volleyball, whatever it might be.
He's a brummie, get him out there. As long as his voice is near something, we'll be fine.
Yeah, so I just went and what an amazing 2 weeks that was. Yep. I mean, it was just, the sun shone. Birmingham was given, you know, an incredible jet wash. It looked looked fantastic on the telly.
I remember someone saying to me, like, Birmingham always look like that. I was like, no, not quite.
It was funny chatting because all the BBC sports staff, a lot of them are from Manchester.
Yeah.
And they all said, can't believe how good Birmingham is. Can't believe how good it is. Yeah.
It was like one of the moments though, and you don't get many in your life, where you watch a world-class event in your city and you're like, are we actually doing this? You know, is this actually ours? And I think that sort of, the one thing that always screams to me with Birmingham is we find a way of fucking everything up. In one way or another, we always find a way of completely ballsing it up.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, Birmingham's an embarrassment again. But that whole 2 weeks, it was almost like everyone was on their best behaviour. It was like, right, okay, we're going to get this right, and it's going to be immense, and everyone's going to have a great time. And we did it.
It went off without a hitch, didn't it? It was just, everything was great. You know, even the mechanical
like,
ball
the medals
and
not to have been
something, yeah. But it did. It just worked. And I remember the BBC thinking, why are the BBC in Centenary Square? Why are they up there? That's And then it was, you go up there. You know, I used to go and just sit there and just look at the people. Thousands of people every day just hanging out in the square, and you know, it was just so good. The events were great. The sports delivered. Yeah. The drama. We got some gold medals. You know, even the NEC was good. Do you know what I mean? It's
So, favourite moment of the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham?
Ooh,
there are a few, I'm sure.
Emily Campbell winning gold in the weightlifting. Women's weightlifting was mega. I was there to see it, and I can't remember. I should be able to remember how heavy she lifted. It was like 160 kgs, I think. So almost 2 of me. She lifted above her head. That's insane,
that's pretty
isn't
mad,
it?
isn't it?
Yeah.
When you put it like
so
that.
So technical. So, you know, just and just to see the weightlifters, and you know, they're not massive people. They're not properly stacked, but they've got the technique. and the explosive power to just, I was just like, oh my God, that was pretty good. 3x3 basketball was good as well.
Yeah, that looks amazing, to be fair. That looks
super quick, super fast. 3 players on the court from each team, 20-second shot clock, 12 minutes or first to 21 points.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, is like, you look at these games, the Commonwealth Games, I mean, having like, you know, sort of early evening volleyball in the middle of Birmingham, incredible, absolutely incredible. Sort of, you know, 5,000 people all in an arena, like, having a proper go, and that 3x3 events, it's just, you sort of look at it and you're like, how is this a real sport?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, it's just amazing to watch.
I know, and there were loads like that. This kind of the Commonwealth, it's there are even weirder sports than snowboarding, aren't they? Skateboarding.
They are a bit. How did that come about? I mean, obviously, this should be sponsored by Red Bull, with Tim Warwood being on.
It should be. I do a lot of stuff for Red Bull still, actually. So we snowboarding lots, commentating lots, but aside from that as well, also I used to make snowboard movies. So back in the day, we got we got cameras, and we just would film ourselves, and we ended up meeting one of the girls from Red Bull, a girl called Kat McKenzie, and she basically loved what we did with the scene, and she said, "Oh, can I sponsor your films?" And so we ended up she basically sponsored our snowboard movies. We ended up doing bits of hosting and presenting and working on events for them and all this kind of stuff, and it just snowballed from there, really. Excuse the pun.
That's a good pun, that one.
And it just, so from hosting events to working with them and being immersed in that world, and also like knowing the world of BMX, skate, surf, snowboard, downhill mountain biking, and all this kind of stuff is we kind of knew lots of things that were going on in all those worlds, and Red Bull very much a part of the action sports market, and I don't know, they've just been really good to me throughout the years. And
I was saying to George the other day, the only sort of Red Bull thing that you don't seem to present is the F1 team.
I did that last year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Maybe that's all of them ticked off there.
Yeah, no, pretty much. No, we did. I did the car launch last year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I had to go meet Max and Checo.
I bet that was good.
Now, I don't normally get starstruck, but I was proper starstruck then.
What's Max Verstappen like?
Very professional, should we say. He's a cool dude. He's young, but he's seriously good at what he does, and he's just pretty serious. I say he's pretty serious. We had him like doing a skit at one point and doing something. We had Max Checo doing Checo doing a skit where he was like telling my partner in crime, Gendel, that I do a lot of presenting. Telling him, I can't remember what the joke was now, but so no, they're not all serious. They're
all right.
Yeah.
So is F1 sort of a sport that you're a fan of? Is that something you get involved with, or are you just like, it's Team Red Bull because I'm Team Red Bull no matter what?
No, I'm just very much a fan of sport. I'll literally watch anything. Yeah. If the commentator's good and there's a good storyline, I'm in. I'm hooked. Yeah. I'll watch it till the end. Not a huge Formula One fan, but I can happily watch a race. Yeah. I will happily sit down and watch a whole race.
And just for job reasons, you want to keep it Red Bull.
Yes, and Red Bull are my favourite team. Big fan of Lewis as well. You know what he's done in the sport is incredible. But then Drive to Survive opened it up for all of us, didn't it, on Netflix?
Brilliant.
And you start to appreciate all the characters in the paddock. In the Haas team and whatever. Anyway, so just a fan of the sport, really.
Brilliant.
But Red Bull are the best team.
So with Red Bull, I mean, obviously, I think we're going to show some clips, if possible, of the soapbox challenge. Because that looks like a hell of a lot of fun.
The best.
Where's that taking you? And sort of, again,
where hasn't it taken me? This is the job that I struggle to sell to other people. To say that I'm doing it as a job, people are like, that's not a job. Like, you're having a laugh, trying to get past this on the way with the wife. It's like, I've been asked to go to Mumbai just for a week to go and she's like, oh, fuck off, But it's the Red Bull soapbox race. It came about. We did that just after the Olympics in 2014, and basically Red Bull have these events. They have the soapbox races, they happen in every country, and it's almost a bit of a marketing thing for them. They're local events, but a guy called Chris Gillett that I'd worked with for another Red Bull TV show called Red Bull Cliptomaniacs. We did 5 series of that. It was a clip show. He came up with the idea. He's like, well, why don't we just go and film these races, and then we'll edit them and just put them out. And Dave, the channel, were like, yeah, we'll buy that, we'll take it. Yeah. And Red Bull UK were like, oh yeah, I never really thought about that. Okay, well, we'll pay half. And then before you know it, we were going around the world to Peru and Norway and Spain and New Zealand, America, Canada. I mean, you name it, we've been there with Soapbox Race. It's incredible. And the type of person that wants to spend 6 months of their lives building a papier-mâché Donald Trump head, or a guinea pig in a hamburger, or whatever they build, to then race it down a course, crash it, they're the same type of person. So whether they're French, Polish, American, what creed, colour, wherever they're from, they are the exact same type of person. They are happy-go-lucky people that love life, and it's a joy to work on that show.
So are there any sort of stories from that show that you can remember, that anything sort of funny moments that you think, oh, hang on, that sticks out as being what on earth happened that day?
There's just so many. So many. I mean, we went, because so me and Gendel, we do this thing, we came up with the idea to do like this walking talk, like a walk and talk directly to the camera, and we do the opening link. And then as we're doing in the opening link, we do the same link in 10 different locations or 5 different locations, and then cut it together. So you're basically walking towards the camera and the background's changing. It's kind of, here we are at the indoor centre, and here's this, and da-da-da. And now we're at the, so basically we get to go and on this whistle-stop sightsee tour of the city that we're in, and go to all these amazing places. And I don't know, just every event, I don't know, I can't really think. I mean, the things that stick out in my head was amazing people in America, that they're always really good. The Italians were really good fun in Turin. The food was incredible in Mumbai. The beluga whale died in Atlanta. I mean, we went and filmed in the I probably shouldn't say this, too late. We filmed in the Atlanta aquarium, and with lights, and there's the fish. And the guy came along, he's like, don't film with the lights, you might affect the fish. And we're like, yeah, whatever. And then the next day we're in a sports bar, and it pops on the screen, beluga in the aquarium dies.
Oh, no way.
So we're all blaming our cameraman. We're all going, Rogie, that was you, that was, mate. You killed the beluga whale. But yeah, just such an incredible event to be a part of, and that's one of those amazing shows. I don't get recognised at all. I'm not famous, and I know I'm not famous, but occasionally I get recognised by someone. They go, no way, it's you off the soapbox. It happened the other day in Marks and Spencer's, and the person was like, it's you, and she stopped to scanning. She's like, can someone take a photo? It's the woman behind the till, and so everyone's in the queue, and I'm like, I don't get embarrassed, but I was starting to get embarrassed. But yeah, it's just, again, it's an event that I'm really lucky to work on, that just chimes with everybody, because everybody can understand it,
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks incredible. I mean, from our perspective, it's like you're sort of watching at home, you're flicking through, you see Dave, and you're like, oh, hello. And it's like, you look at some of the designs, and they just look like they're never going to fucking get anywhere. and you know it, and you just know there's going to be a major fuck up. And you're just thinking, I can't wait for it.
Well, I'll never forget in London. So London is actually the gnarliest track. When you think about all the crazy places we went in the world. London,
that Ali Pali, is it?
At Ali Pali. It's long, straight, and fast. And by the end of it, they are absolutely flying, and they build these insane jumps and cars flipping over and huge smashes. But I always remember at London, the tale that I'll tell is you walk the line, and you go and you interview people, and you look at the cars, and you go to the next one. They're all queuing up for their go, and I arrived at Aston Martin. So Aston Martin, as in the car company, they built a scaled down version of a Vantage, whatever it is, I don't know, Vanquish thing. And it was a work of art. The welds on this thing were beautiful. Like you took it, it was aircraft grade aluminium, just perfect. Like hydraulic brakes, the steering, just everything about it. As you can imagine, they built this insane car. It was light, had independent suspension, 4-wheel ceramic disc, you name it, this thing was beautiful. The next car in line had an old New Balance shoe on a stick as the brake, and it was steered with string. It was built out of an old bed. Yeah. And this guy was like, he knocked this car together for 30 quid up against a car which quite literally probably cost about 20 grand to build.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And
that's the beauty of it, though.
That's the beauty of it. And to be fair, he probably beat them down.
Yeah. The man with his string sort of pulling it through. And that is like where them events, they're quite captivating because of that reason. You sort of watch it and you just know the ones that have spent the most money probably aren't going to win.
Yeah.
Because it's like, your man who sort of sat there and thought, well, hang on, I'll stick something ridiculous, like a big lizard or something, and throw it down a hill.
And they've got to do the performance at the top as well, so they've got to, they've got to impress the judges with the performance, and you'll find that a guy that spent weeks shaping something out of carbon fibre, he'll get to the start line and he'll go, I didn't think about the performance, and he'll just do like a little Macarena dance or something, and then the next thing is you've got this guy dry ice and this girl coming out air guitar, and it's amazing. Yes, such a good event.
So are you going to be doing any more of them? Penciled in yet?
I mean, just to be brutally honest, I think they've traded me in for a slightly younger, better model.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Never say never. They've done a few, but I don't know if it's coming back.
Got it.
I didn't do it this. I didn't do it.
That wasn't the fantastic.
Nice one.
That's
Thanks
a
a lot,
buzzkill.
Nick.
Cheers, Tim.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Okay, well, good luck with that. We hope that you
Mate,
sort of
I'll do him
see
again.
back on
I
day.
know. I chat to the guy that makes the show, Gilsey.
Yeah.
I chat to him regularly.
So you presented that with your mate,
Yeah.
Gendel.
Yeah.
Famous first words, you and Gendel.
Yes.
Who's Gendel? Obviously, first and foremost.
I met Gendel on there.
Okay.
I met Gendel on there.
Another friend of the SnowDome.
Yeah. So we've been best mates since we were 14, and just do everything together. He's my husband, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, when
your missus know?
When I'm not with my wife, I'm with Gendel, basically. And we've done everything together, and he lives in London now, and we lived in London together-ish, and then when I moved back up here,
you
to
cheated
the
on him.
Midlands, cheated on him, yeah. But he's basically we've done everything together. We've snowboarded together. We made our snowboard films together. We then started presenting together, doing the Red Bull soapbox race together, and loads of random bits. We've done stuff for CBBC and loads of bits and bobs. And Famous First Words is a game that we used to play. We used to just play against each other, battle each other with in the car or at a train station or whatever. And we, through our hosting bits that we were doing for Red Bull asked us once, they said, we need a game we can play for about 45 minutes. Have you got anything? And we'd actually just done, we used to do a lot of hosting of pub quizzes and stuff like that. So we did the Nike Christmas party pub quiz for them, for another friend of ours that we knew. And we played this last round, and we played Famous First Words as the last round, and they loved it. And so when Red Bull said, have you got anything we can play for 45 minutes? We were like, well, we got something we can play. They were like, what is it? And we went, it's called Famous First Words. Oh yeah, how's it work? It's like, well, you got this. And we basically, we came up with the game in its format, almost on the spot, really. Yeah. And we went to the Red Bull conference, the summer conference, and we played it. And we were supposed to do 45 minutes. We did 2 hours. Yeah. And they absolutely loved it. The place went nuts. And afterwards, everybody came up and said, when's the next one? When are you doing the next? I'll bring all my mates. And we kind of just thought, maybe there's something in this. Maybe we could do it as a live show, and that's what it is. And that was over 7 years ago now, and it's always been a thing where we just do it for love. And if someone said, can you do us an event? We were like, yeah, we'll do Famous First Words for you. And we do one or two, we do one a month or one every 2 months or whatever. But then at the start of the year, the start of last year, we kind of made a conscious decision because of the pandemic and TV stuff, not drying up, but just kind of a bit like, whatever, we'll see what happens. We just thought, let's just make a go of this. And ever since then, we've been doing them pretty much every month. And, in the run-up to Christmas, we were doing 4 a week.
Oh, bloody hell.
So yeah, we were smashing them out.
Yeah.
Which is quite knackering when you have to dance around on stage as an old man.
So how does it work? So it's effectively like a karaoke sort of environment.
It's
3 judges, is that right?
Yeah, 3 judges. So basically, we play a song to the audience, and if anybody in the audience thinks that they can sing along to the first line, scream, whoop, holler, put their hands up. We stop the track, we get them up on stage.
Yeah.
They grab our dangling mic of destiny. We then restart the track, and all they've got to simply do is sing along to the first line.
Right.
We have 3 judges that judge them on 3 different things, and it's a really fun event. They're really good. I mean, I feel really bad saying, they're the best ever, but we've never had any negative feedback yet from it, really.
Yep.
You know, people just love it.
How many people are sort of in a room?
We can do like a good pub room, 150 is amazing. We could do up to, we did Download Festival to 5,000 people, which was insane. Yeah, the whole place was ridiculous. And conversely, we did a members club to 8 people. We did it to 3 members of staff and 3 members of staff and 5 of the members. So and again, it works. It's a game that works, and the competitiveness of it comes out in people, and it's something that no one's ever seen before. And
bet that was quite a pinch yourself moment when you sort of stood on the stage in front of 5,000 people at Download Festival with a game that you and your mate have created in the car. Yeah,
well, this is it, and it is when you. It's hard because we're trying to protect it because it's ours. You can't copyright an idea in the UK, so. But every time you do it and you see people's faces and people come up to you at the end, without fail, every single time we do it, someone will come up to us at the end and go, "That should be on telly."
Yeah.
Oh my God, that should be on telly.
You know enough TV people, surely, Tim.
Well, we're trying. We're absolutely trying. We've got a TV company that we're with at the minute, and they're trying to get it out there. But it's just such a simple game, and people love it, and it's the perfect pub night, and it does go off.
Do you film the events ever?
We do, yeah. We whack clips up, and we've got a little Instagram account, and we whack some bits out, but it never translates. You know what it's like when you go to the pub, you have a night out in the pub or a club with your mates, and the next day you're trying to tell them how good it is, and it's never as...
Just going back to that Instagram account, talk to me about the world famous egg.
Yeah? So the world famous egg followed us.
So the world famous egg, which is the most liked Instagram post,
or it was, wasn't it, at the time?
I think it's gone now.
So it was started, wasn't it, because it was the Kylie Jenner put a photo up of her lunch or something, and that became and so they started the world famous egg to try and get more likes than Kylie Jenner, I think, and it succeeded, didn't it? It was just a picture of an egg. So I know it. I can't say, but I do know it. Basically, the person that started the world famous egg plays football with Gendel.
Right, okay.
In his 5-a-side football team.
Got you.
And one night at the pub, they were drunk, and he was telling him about famous first words. He was like, "Oh, that looks really good, I'll give you a follow." And he thought he was logged in on his personal account,
brilliant.
but he was logged in as the world famous egg.
That's outstanding.
So that's how we had a famous... But our followers went through the roof. We got an extra 300 followers for that. It was mad. People messaging us going, "Why does it follow you?"
It's a good story though, isn't it? I mean, it's one that no one would ever really have thought of. So if you could relive a moment in your career again, what would you relive?
I would go back to when my friend Jenny Jones won a bronze medal in Sochi.
Yep.
It just was such a special day. I think a couple of things, but up to that point, I'd never really done I'd done no live BBC commentary, and then, like I said earlier on, it was that perfect storm of being a beautiful, brilliant sunny day in Russia. We'd been up since 8 a.m. It was now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We were in the zone, me and Ed. We were having a lot of laugh. We were just saying stupid things, trying to make each other laugh on the mic.
Yeah.
Jenny'd made the final, and as we're chatting away, all of a sudden, my earpiece just goes, "Take a pause, coming to you live from Manchester," or "coming to you live," or whatever it was. And so I just stopped talking. I was like, what was that? Because I'd been commentating all day, but just not really, we weren't live on telly or anything. And then I heard Claire Balding talk. They packed that patch through, and it's Claire Balding. Was like, welcome to BBC Two this morning. I hope you're getting on well. While you were sleeping, Jenny Jones managed to get through to the final. Well, now we join the Rosacuta Snow Park with Tim Warwood and Ed Lee. Over to you guys. And I was just like, I was swallowed. I was like, oh my God, we're live on BBC Two. And then Ed starts talking. He's like, welcome to the Rosacuta Snow Park. It's a beautiful day for it. And Tim, he handed over to me, and I was like, I was like totally like lost it or whatever. But then my phone just started going going mental as everyone's texting me like, you're on the BBC, you're live. And then of course my mate Jenny went on and she won a bronze medal, and I mean the rest is history really. It was just such a special, amazing moment, and I don't know. I think I'd probably relive that one.
Brilliant. So from the best day, what's the worst day you've had in your career, where everything that could have possibly gone wrong, everything could have gone tits up, has? what's that? And sort of, I'm talking like total catastrophe days.
I did the World Champs commentary once and called a person the wrong name for pretty much the whole broadcast. That was pretty, but I think I kind of started
it out. Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh no, even worse.
I did a cycling broadcast as well. Oh, it was pre-recorded. I did a pre-recorded show with Sir Chris Hoy. Okay. Name drop clang.
I'll pick that up for you.
And I was starstruck because it was Chris Hoy, and I was like, oh my God.
He didn't try and sell you some bran flakes, did he?
He didn't try and sell me any bran flakes. But he was a super nice guy, really, really nice. And I just couldn't do the links. I couldn't get them out. I was messing up. I'd been given these really long, lengthy paragraphs to read, and I was trying to do them verbatim, and I think it was quite early on in my career that I didn't realise that I could actually take what was written and regurgitate it in my own way. So I was trying to read this words that just weren't mine. I was giving it late the night before, and I didn't have time to. And I just, in the end, the producer was just basically, I went, okay, don't worry about it, just move on, don't even worry about it. And so, which is essentially like, we'll just fix it in the edit. You'll be gone. You're not even in the show, kind of thing. And I remember just wishing the ground would open up and swallow up everybody else and leave me on my own.
Was Chris Hoy there for that?
He was there. He was standing next to me
Oh, no.
as I was just, trying to talk to camera and just absolutely messing it up.
Nightmare.
It was awful. Yeah.
So, from that, any moments that stand out as being like the funniest in your career? Anything that sort of you think, oh my God, that is the best laugh I've ever had? I mean, there's quite a lot of things that you've done, so I'm guessing that sort of you might want to go down a couple of routes with that.
Oh my God, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get to work with my bestest mate, Gendel.
So you're always laughing.
We're always laughing. We're always enjoying ourselves. We're so blessed that we only get #blessed. We're so lucky that we only get to work on good stuff.
Yeah.
We don't get to work on crap things really. So that's quite cool. We have a lot of fun on that. I got to slap him in the face a couple of times on a link, and then of course every time I slap him, he laughs and I laugh, and then we have to do it again and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty mad. I don't know. It's just funniest moments. I don't know. It's just a real tough one. I should have given it more thought.
It's a horrible question. That isn't great. Is there anything? I mean, obviously you did a bit of radio presenting.
Radio. Bloody loved radio.
That's something that I'm guessing with radio, like with TV, and unless you're doing a live link, you can balls it up as many times as you want because you can just trash that, go again, we start again.
Absolutely.
Not really the case with radio, is it? It's a bit more. You can't swear. You can't get things wrong because if you do, you've got to correct them quickly.
Well, this is it. Okay, so radio, yes. Did free radio Birmingham. Did it for a year on the breakfast show. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. Worked with Lauren Crace, Mitch Rushton, and Lovedev Barpaga, the comedian. So there were the four of us in the studio, and it was the old classic kind of Chris Moyles Zoo format with us all around the table, all delivering the breakfast show. Yeah, in the day, it was amazing. I'm not saying I'm anywhere near as good as Chris Moyles, by the way. I'm just saying, as for reference. Whoops, sorry. But yeah, just for reference. And And I can remember Lauren would do the travel news, but Lauren actually couldn't even drive a car at the time. She was just learning. So not only could she not drive, she never really paid attention to directions or junctions or anything like that. So she's trying to do the travel news, which is just funny anyway. But as we're getting ready to go, the travel news gets beamed to her computer from the producers, the other side of the glass, and the song's coming to the end, and I'm like, right, you got the travel, you nearly ready? She, because I'm on the buttons. She's like, yeah. She's like, she's like, Queslete. What? What's this? Ques, how do I? And I went, Queslet. And she went, Ques what? And I went, And I went, that was Pink, and Lauren's got your travel. Lauren, she goes, oh my God, she starts laughing, and then I start laughing, and then Mitch loses it, and we're all and she can't actually, for laughing, she can't do the news because she's trying to say the word Queslet.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah. And I mean that.
So you stitched her up.
I didn't stitch her up. She just couldn't read the word Queslet, basically. But mate, we had so many good moments doing radio. It was one of the best years of my life, actually, doing breakfast radio.
Would you go back into radio? Is that sort of?
Oh, I'd love to.
Is that the career progression for Tim Warwood?
Good. Once my face isn't good enough for telly anymore, I'll just move on to radio.
I don't know, you say that everything's broadcast with,
true.
YouTube and whatever these days. You've got no chance.
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, thanks, mate.
Get yourself to Turkey, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we're going to hit the quick fire questions, and then we're going to go into the couple of pints questions. So,
all right,
these are sort of quite serious.
Okay, I'm ready.
Dream job now. What would your dream job be if you were starting out from right now?
Dream job? I mean, this is not very quick fire, is it?
Not really, no.
Dream job. I'd love a series. I'd love to present some kind of sports series. So do a 6 or an 8-part world tour, whether it's
Netflix if you're listening.
Netflix if you're listening. Yeah, I don't know. Like
skateboarding world tour.
Maybe, yeah. Let's do that.
Behind the rails with Tim Warwood.
Oh, mate, it's right in itself, isn't it? Yeah. Something like that, like a big series again. I'd love to sink my teeth into something like that.
Yep. If you could pick the perfect city for an Olympics, where would you choose? You can be biased, so
it's probably Birmingham, innit? Really, we did a pretty good job with the dress rehearsal, didn't we, of the Commonwealth?
I think so. I think Birmingham's due an Olympics.
Let's take on an Olympics. I'm gonna say something quite controversial. I think the Olympics needs to go back to a bit more of a greener. It needs to be a greener games, so I think it needs to go back to hosting the sports. So, for instance, like the skateboarding needs to go back to the mecca of skateboarding, so it needs to go to LA or America. Surfing needs to go to the best surfing break. You need to go for badminton. Where's badminton? Go to those key locations where they are, where that sport is from.
Yep.
Keep it greener, no travel involved, no massive money spent on infrastructure, spend the money on the people.
Favourite place in the world?
Ooh. Vail, Colorado on a fresh, snowy day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That was quick, wasn't it?
That was quick.
That was the quickest.
I was expecting you to think about that a bit more. I mean, I was expecting, Alum Rock or
Yeah.
Nichols.
Yeah.
No, sort of no.
Gravelly Hill.
Yes. Have you ever seen Spaghetti Junction at dawn? Yeah. What is the most? I mean, this is a good question for you, particularly. Okay. I think. Well, I say that I wrote them, so they should all be good questions in theory. But what is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
Ooh. So I worked on a TV show called Animal Impossible for BBC Studios, and it was debunking animal myths. So, not animal myths, it was debunking supposed animal facts. So, sharks are mindless man-eaters. Well, let's go test it. Spider silk is stronger than steel. Is it? Let's test, things like that. And so, actually, for the spider silk is stronger than steel episode, to prove that spider silk is indeed stronger than steel, I had to go and dangle from spider silk 300 meters above the canyon floor on the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
Suspended across it.
That was a bit scary, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that was petrifying. Yeah.
Did you trust it?
I did. So you have to trust the science. We'd go on a journey where we'd meet all the scientists and we'd learn all about it, and then we'd get to the end, to the big stunt at the end, and we had to go and do it. And I basically went out to the middle of this rope that was suspended across the canyon, and I had a belay rope, and I basically belayed myself down onto so I was dangling from the spider silk. Okay. And as I released, it went... It made this like noise, like a piano being pushed over. I mean, it was... You've never heard a noise like it. And it stretched. It went... And stretched. And I was just like, holy crap, I'm about to die. This is
it only goes wrong once, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, this is it. But it held me. I dangled above the Grand Canyon from spider silk. Not many... In fact, I think I'm the only person that can say that.
That's a world exclusive.
Yeah, nobody else has dangled from spider silk, and I have. My friend Gendel, he pulled the short straw because for that he had to. Sharks are mindless man-eaters, are they? No. Well, test it. Go and swim with a shark. So we went to South Africa, and he got the first ever permit in the last 50 years or so to swim with a great white shark with no cage.
Oh, wow.
So he went in the water with a great white shark and was filmed swimming with a great white shark.
I don't think I'd want to do that one. I think I mean, they're both pretty like awful in terms of you think, which one would you rather do? It's like asking sort of, how do you want to die? Yeah,
he actually pulled a lot of the short straws because he also had to, the fact, or again, is it a fact or is it a myth that the shock of an electric eel can kill you? Yeah. He was tasered.
Whose idea was these things?
Which was quite good, actually, to see him get tasered. And he had to swim in a tank with piranhas.
So that was a CBBC show?
No, this was for BBC Studios.
Oh, it was BBC. Yeah. That was the proper channels. Yeah. How many ways are there?
Probably how many ways can you die?
Yeah. And, okay, so the spider silk is your main one.
Yeah.
Your mate had some awful experiences.
He had loads of bad ones.
You must have had another one. You think?
I had to go in a bullpen dressed in red with a bull.
Tim the Matador.
Yeah. And obviously, it kind of went for me, but I ran off. I got scared, so I bolted. And then all the others were kind of not really stunts.
So your mate's getting tasered, and there's you. Like,
he got tasered.
See how luxurious this could be.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'll just dangle. But I thought the spider silk was going to snap, and I was going to plummet to my death.
I wouldn't be fancying it myself. I'll be honest. Final bit of the quick fire questions. Wasn't very quick fire.
No, sorry.
I'll be fair. That's probably my fault as well because they're quite leading questions that sort of push you into talking about things. Favourite thing about Birmingham?
Favourite thing about Birmingham, the people.
People of Birmingham.
Friendly people.
Better than people think, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, everyone always thinks we're quite dour and boring, but like, there's always a story with a Brummie.
Always a story.
Funny as well. A lot of Brummies are funny. It's miserable, isn't it?
It was
miserable lives. Always find the comedy.
Well, that's it. You always know. You know when you're talking to a Brummie because they're all moaning about the price of a baguette or something. It's working on free radio again, being back connected back to the city was I loved it. I loved being learning more about my city again.
Was that working on Broad Street as well?
That was on Broad Street.
Heart of the city.
Yeah, it was ace. Really good.
Starting at what time? As the clubs were shutting.
As the clubs were shutting, I'd get in. Get in for like 10 past, 5:15 every morning.
Oh, you were literally seeing the dregs.
Oh yeah. By the time I was driving through Erdington at 4:30 in the morning, seeing everybody out and about and crawling home. Yeah,
nightmare. So these are the questions that we're going to ask every one of our guests moving forward. So these are the couple of points, sort of standard questions. Top bit of advice that you would give anyone, and this could be about anything.
Ooh.
Don't dangle from Grand Canyons on spider silk would probably be up there.
Yeah, definitely. Bit of advice I'd give to. Oh, it's tough, isn't it? I've got 3 kids. So I'm kind of feel like I'm doing the advice thing daily, and you just try and pass on your best bits to them, don't you? I guess. I just want my kids to be nice. I want them to treat people as you wish to be treated. Yeah. That's the rule I live by. I've got quite a nice, friendly demeanour, and I just try to be nice and kind to everybody. hopefully it passes on forwards.
That's always a nice way to sort of answer that question. If you could only do the same thing every day forever, what would your day look like?
So if I had to live the same day over and over again, it would start with pancakes, me and the kids. I would then come snowboarding at the SnowDome, bring the kids, we'd all have a bit of fun out there. Then I would go back, I'd have a cheese and coleslaw sandwich, because they're my favourite sandwiches. I would then watch the Villa beat Liverpool 7-2.
Yep.
From the stands, though, not online, not on Sky. I'd be in the hot end, in my seat, and then I would go home and have pizzas. I built a pizza oven in lockdown.
Really?
Yeah, because this Groundhog Day is after lockdown, so I would have pizzas out of my pizza oven.
Ideal.
And then I'd watch, Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Because that's a wicked film.
I haven't watched that.
Haven't you watched Top Gun Maverick?
I haven't watched it. No, I haven't watched it.
Tom Cruise would be turning in his grave now.
If you could change one thing about the world right now, what would it be? You get one change, one free pass.
I'd reduce the temperature back to normal temperature.
Climate change stuff. Yeah.
I'd reduce climate change.
Question 4 on these ones, and this is probably quite good with your famous first word stuff.
Go.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh. My favourite karaoke song is One Direction, Steal My Girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite something to admit. Any meaning behind that?
So, famous first words, my demo song. I do a demo at the start to make myself look like an idiot and show everybody just how easy the game is, and that's the song I sing, but it's just a bop, man.
Have you got a good singing voice?
No, absolutely terrible.
Even better.
Yeah.
Did you do any karaoke in Japan?
Yeah, we did actually.
Yeah.
So actually on the final night, a lot of the lockdowns got lifted for the visitors.
Yeah.
So we got pretty drunk, actually, to be honest.
Wasted.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what was the crack like with karaoke in Japan? Is that?
They love it.
Yeah.
I think famous first words would go down pretty well in Japan, to be fair.
Japanese edition.
Yeah. There's loads of karaoke bars and stuff. We only went to the one. Pretty drunk.
Sounds good to me.
Drunk. Can't
Looking
say
forward.
more than that.
Final question.
Go.
And this is the question which obviously sort of came into the thinking when we named the podcast. 3 people, dead or alive, that you would go for a couple of pints with.
Don't judge me though, yeah?
No judgments on this podcast.
Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
just because I think he's got some insane stories.
Yeah.
David Bowie,
I like that.
because
Yeah.
I think he'd have some good stories, and I bet he loved a beer as well. And in the similar vein, probably George Michael,
Yeah.
just because I think he'd have some good stories.
And even if not, if you got bored, you got a good sing-song in there.
Just
Some
George,
great
got,
songs.
maybe George and David Bowie are too similar. Maybe I need to change one.
I'll give you 4 then. Go on. I'll give you
One
more.
extra.
Give you one more, just because I'm that kind of guy too.
Okay. I do like Ricky Gervais. I think he's quite funny.
He'd be good with Bowie. Have you ever seen Extras?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Well, maybe they're too close. Maybe I couldn't have Maybe I couldn't have Gervais.
You're not getting a 5th.
No. Tom Hanks. He's quite a nice guy.
He was
isn't
here yesterday. He was at the
He
Villa.
was at the Villa, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes. Do you know the reason why he's a Villa fan?
Denzel Washington. I bet he's a good. Sorry, go on.
Do you know the reason why Tom Hanks is a Villa fan?
I do. When you tell me,
I heard it yesterday, and I
Oh,
still
go
can't
on.
get my head around it. He was like, "Oh, I just like the name," and Aston Villa. It sounds like a beach town with a nice sort of, view of the sea, beach resort. And I was like, couldn't have been further from it, Tom.
Is that real?
Imagine his face when he arrived in Aston.
Oh my God! Yeah. When he got off the train and started walking.
Get off the train at Whitton thinking, what the fuck is this? So Denzel Washington, is that your 4th guess?
He's a good dude, isn't he? No, maybe not Denzel. Hang on. Changed my mind again. Sylvester Stallone.
Rocky.
I think I need a movie star. Shit, I've lost the quick fireness of this, haven't I?
That's all right. So Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington.
No, I've got my movie star. I've got my movie star in Tom. I've got Bowie. for music and for coolness, oh God, maybe Adele, because she seems like a laugh, doesn't she?
She does, yeah, to be fair.
She'd have a good...
She could definitely put a few beers away as well, I reckon.
Yeah,
She'd be good.
Let's go for Adele.
Spot on. Thank you, Tim.
How about that?
No, that's a great way to end the podcast. Tim, really appreciate your time. Thanks
Pleasure
for coming on
is
Couple of
all
Pints
mine.
Podcast. Big thanks to the SnowDome. Here
Nearly
in
left me
Tamworth.
hanging.
Sorry, mate.
No worries.
Big thanks
Shouldn't have just put my hand in there weirdly, should I?
No, it's all right. It's all right. Thanks for coming on, and
No worries.
like I say, we look forward to seeing what you do next with Red Bull.
Cheers, thanks.
Spot on. Cheers, mate.